Sappy Lee. I'm your host, Coach Penn, along with the world's greatest co-host, Professor Haas. Today's special guest was able to dominate running between the tackles, making defenders miss while running straight to the Lombardi. Please allow me to introduce to you Super Bowl champion, three-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro, Gerald Riggs Sr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How about yourself? Thank you for
Pretty
that warm introduction. But yeah, I'm doing good though.
good,
Thank
man.
you for joining us.
Yes, sir. So glad for you to come on. Hey, let's get the party started. Can you do us the honor of introducing to our audience how you were introduced to football and a summary of your professional career?
Wow, you mean you want me to go way back there? Because,
Way back in Louisiana.
I was a blessed young kid. In the sense that I was I was smart, but I made a lot of mistakes as a young kid. I was in the streets. I was doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, and there were people who saw me, as I grew up, and were saying, hey, you're not a dumb kid. Why you out there doing stuff with some of these other guys or whatnot? I wasn't the kind that was falling behind people. I was kind of a leader. I wasn't a guy who was going to be latching on to gang life or anything like that. But I made some turns that I have to say God had his hand on me. So I almost missed my blessing of football because I had a temper. I had some crazy ways of dealing with people, and when I was in school and talking about in junior high school, I was more of a track and basketball guy. Football I didn't want to do because I didn't like people to hit them. So I didn't want to do it. I tried it when I was like sixth grade, and my experience with that was that I got tackled and got up and started fighting the kid, and taking him out of his uniform. So that was it for me. But then fast forward now, go all the way to my junior year in high school, where actually my sophomore year I tried to play, but I was on a JV team, and they moved me up to the varsity, but they didn't let me play because I was, it was kind of a written thing that underclassmen didn't really start to play for the varsity, but I was good enough to be up there on it. And then I was transferred to another school, which I hated. I went kicking and screaming. I was like, I'm going to go over there and cause as much hate as I can. That's basically that was me and probably 3 or 4 guys that grew up together, and we all had to go because of our neighborhood and the zoning and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So we went over there, man. We went over there to make a mess, and through it all, I decided to go ahead and play football because it really wasn't nothing else there to do at the time. I didn't like the track coach. I didn't like the basketball coach, even though I still did it. So I decided to go out my junior year, and man, I locked horns with the football coach, and probably about 3 games in the year after we had pardon me. No, I thought you said something, but no, about 3 games into the season. I had gotten kicked off the team after we had been losing all 3 of those games, but I came in and played at halftime. He would never let me play before halftime. So I would come in at halftime, and we never lost any one of those games. So the same thing happened my senior year. We locked horns, lost 3 games, or the first 3 games of the season. He would never let me play before halftime, even though we would be getting mercifully beat. And as a result of that, those 3 games, we never lost after I came in and played at halftime. So it was something that people were saying, you have a natural talent to do what you do. Why don't you stick this out and make it happen for you and yourself and your family? You can get an opportunity to go to a school or whatnot and further your education and do all these yada, 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 101 million things. So that's what I did. That's what happened. And it's almost kind of like the apropos to say the rest is history. But along the way, there was still a lot of challenges and things that I had to endure to get to the next level. And then on top of that, being in a running back stable, full of running backs when I was at Arizona State. We had, and I was a fullback. And I don't think still to this day that there has been a fullback drafted in the top 10 in the NFL draft since they've started. So I was a number 9th pick coming out that year in '82. and went on to have a pretty decent career. I don't know about Hall of Fame numbers, but I'm in the Atlanta Falcons Ring of Honor. That's where I started all, and I'm happy with that.
Okay,
You got
good,
to be a
good.
bad man to get drafted number 9 as a fullback.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah. Because you don't see it. You don't hardly even see tailbacks getting drafted now these days.
no,
So
you don't.
Absolutely.
as a fullback, it was a great honor. Yes.
Hey, last thing while we're in your football and your career, I just want to touch on that Super Bowl run and what I witnessed. I kind of witnessed you single-handedly carry a team to a Super Bowl, averaging 2 tubs a game. They were putting up, I think in the Super Bowl, you guys, they let up 24. They let 24 on them. But man, your 2 touchdowns could have won them games completely with that defense they were playing like that. But you carried them,
Yeah.
man. I think that was very impressive.
Well, I wouldn't say I cared. I was part of a very, very special team.
Mm, yes,
Joe
sir.
Joe Gibbs had assembled some old guys with some young guys with some very cagey veterans, guys who knew how to prepare, guys who knew how to go out and get the job done. So you know, even though I didn't carry the ball as much as I wanted to in that Super Bowl year, I had gotten hurt earlier on in the season and had a foot injury.
Yeah.
And when I got well, things had still been going well. I mean, we were still winning. Ernest Miner was carrying the ball. He wasn't carrying it at the rate that I would carry it, but we were still doing things that, as an offense, we were productive. And Joe told me, he's like, Gerald, let's just ride this and see how it goes. I know you want to start. I know you want to be the man carrying the ball, but let's continue to keep riding this how it is. And we're winning. So I'm like, if this is going to get me into a Super Bowl, I'm all for it.
That's
Let's
right.
continue to keep this going. And sure enough, we did. And even all the way up until the Super Bowl itself, um, they were kind of contemplating me going back to the starting role. So we spoke about it. We talked about it the night before, and Joe made the call to say, we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick with what we've been doing. And a little bit, kind of, I wanted to start that game, but
Yeah.
again, I learned to be a team player through what he had done, and he can, I was all in when what Joe Gibbs was for what he was as a coach, for what he prepared us for. I was all in, so I was not going to rock the boat as far as that was concerned. But I really feel had I started that game, and you can look back and say, Gerald, that's just maybe kind of your star aspirations or whatever. I
Mm.
guarantee you, I would have set a rushing record that was still not been touched today because I knew that how Buffalo played. I just from the time that I was in there for the few carries that I was in there,
Mm.
I cut them. I mean, like it was just a gashing, and that was my game. That was a team that was built for a good pounding.
Yes,
we,
sir.
we, we didn't
Yes,
we
sir.
didn't quite give it to them like we could have, but we still won the game, and that's all that matters, guys. That's all that matters.
This is all memory, man. All memory. No research here. I watched this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
But
same here.
yeah,
Yeah.
but go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, well, I just want to bring one thing out real quick
Yeah.
because we keep hearing this reoccurring theme, right? We talk about teamwork. In our interview with Rod Woodson, he talked about playing for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how the coaches helped to really instill that in and you just brought up Joe Gibbs. We heard a lot talked about Tony Dungy and these coaches that really help players to play the game at a different level, but for a different reason. Because a lot of times, when players come in, it is all about the name on the back of the jersey, and then you kind of have to learn to play for the name on the front of the jersey. And it seems like once you got that, then Super Bowl, here we come. And that so just hearing that and that really resonates with me, and I'm hoping that it's going to resonate with our audience as well.
Yeah, that is something, man, that is so it's not spoken of as much these days because we've got a game full of divas and hustlers and all kind of stuff that they want to go out, and I know everybody wants to get that big contract. You're playing for two of them basically, playing for that first one, and you playing for that next one that's going to hopefully set you straight. But if you get a third one, then hey, then you've been extremely blessed.
Right.
But in the grand scope of things, guys have got to understand if they want to get to the pinnacle of football, which is the Super Bowl, all the Pro Bowls and all the other accolades and things that come along, Man of the Year, and all those things are great. But everybody wants to play in that one game.
That's right.
And in order to do that, you got to be able to find guys who want to come together for one common goal, and that's to win. And that's to win in a way in which everybody's going to benefit from it. It's not about the contract. It's not about who's going to get traded. It's not. It's what we're going to do now this year, at this time. Is year in year out what you're going to do for that one time. And if you can pull it all together, man, I tell you what, you can always look behind and say, you know what, I played in a part of something. I was a part of something that was extremely special in winning a Super Bowl, and we won one of what is it, for 50 now or something like that. I don't know how many Super Bowls there are, but you can say that you played in one and you won one, and probably you can get to another one, but you got to do it in a way in which everybody buys in as a team. There's no other way to do it.
It's the ultimate form of closure also when you get that ring.
Yep.
Yes, sir. So since you retired, you've been in many endeavors that were really based around helping others. One of the most notable was your work in the foster care system. Your foundation, New Life Home for Boys, provided kids opportunities that otherwise they never would have had. Can you explain your organization and what pushed you to join that particular fight?
Well, because I came here to Chattanooga to initially do some sports radio.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I got involved with a young man by the name of Lynn Bird, who he was trying to help a lot of the underprivileged kids in different counties and different parts of the state. And it wasn't something that was based on really color or anything like that. It was about young men who he wanted to see them get on the right path. They didn't have any role models. They didn't have many people to follow after. A lot of them from very difficult family situations, single mother homes, or some of them with really, live with grandparents or whatnot. It was very, very, very touching to me, because as I looked at, when I tell you about how I was in so much trouble growing up, I very easily could have been one of those kids. I very easily had a lifestyle or a way of growing up, which would have put me in harm's way of so many different things, because I really didn't have any role models. I didn't have anybody to look after, to look up to, or my biological father, I never knew him. I had a stepfather who today I love him like he is my blood, but it took a lot of doing, of talking and getting to know and trusting people, trusting just the folks within your own circle. And a lot of these kids who were they were basically beat up because of that. They were beat up in the sense of no trust. They were beat up in the sense of they didn't have anybody to believe in. They were beat up in the sense that they just didn't have anyone out there that they could turn to and say, hey, help me out. So we got together, and I got to know a lot of the juvenile justice judges here. So a lot of the kids who were going through the program, they had group homes basically, and the state was really at one time really high on the group home programs, and for whatever reason, some group homes took advantage of it, I guess, in a way in which it made the whole program suffer statewide. So, but we had a good run at it. We did it for about 12 years. We put, I don't know, 200 and some odd boys, or a little under 300 boys in the good jobs, and a lot of them end up having good families. There was some that along the way didn't make it, but that's what's going to happen. But you don't let just one fall off the wagon and think that everybody else is going to do it. One may fall off, but you still got to keep on doing it and get the rest of them going. And we had a very successful program here until basically all the states around here decided to, or at least in Chattanooga, at least in Tennessee, I should say, they decided to pull those programs and no longer have them. And it's really a travesty that they don't have them anymore, because there's an awful lot of kids out there who need that help.
It sure is, man. What you did and the work that you did, like I say, it single-handedly could have changed someone's life, for the positive. Definitely, because there's so many situations and the statistics of the foster care system once they reach adults, once they time out, if I'm not mistaken, is what it's called. So yeah, that you know foundation, it really meant something, and we really need to get more foundations like that going on around here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we appreciate that.
yeah. We've actually spoken of trying to, well, I've been contacted about trying to bring this back around because they, with all of the things that are going on right now, this day and age,
Yeah,
um, there's the foster care system have so many kids that are out there,
yeah,
and sometimes those group homes will help just to be able to get some of those kids, out of situations, or when they're just kind of like in waiting or in transition or whatnot, helping them understand what they need to go through and what they're getting ready to deal with some of the group homes, so we can kind of be a liaison for the foster care program if they were to bring them back. But I don't know how it's going to go. I'm just kind of sitting back watching, but I know that it's something that's desperately needed throughout in this whole country.
yeah. My wife also has joined that fight. Many
Mhm.
times we spoke about things that she's done to help. And different plans that she has in the future. To
Right.
bring everything together and keep that, especially focusing on the timing out point of it. She's been really a
Aging
big
out.
advocate in that. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Age out.
Age out. Yeah, timing out, age out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She's been a big advocate for that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Great.
So we discussed also the act of adopting practices that your parents used in order for you to raise your children. I think you termed that coin parental passage.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, sir. Would you touch on that for a second?
Yeah. I call it parental passage because we, as let's just put it this way, young folks that are coming up, people who are aspiring to be fathers and mothers and have a family. Um, we need to look closely at, and I'm sorry, and I this is really that's been tugged at my heart for a long time because of the Black community and how we're brought up and how we're brought up to raise our kids. I mean, not everybody is from the South. Not everybody is from up north. Not everybody is, from out west. And there's different mindsets along with all of them. But I think that from a standpoint of us raising our children, we have a large anchor to toe because of what society has
Mhm.
placed on
Absolutely.
us as a people. So we have to look at some things differently. Yes, we want to try to make equality for our children. We want to have all those things for them, but we got to be understanding that we've got to raise them in a way in which our kids know how to think on their feet going. It's not just about sitting back and waiting for people to say something for them to react. Because we know that we got a lot of kids out there right now. I don't care what you would call it, whatever, but they react to the circumstances, to the situations and whatnot. And that's all of those things come from at home. It's not just the teachers and the people in the school. It's what we do at home with our children, which again, as we have to look at and reflect back on what we have been taught and what we have come up through to prepare us for that parental passage to make our children better for the next generation, not just to say, well, hey, I got my butt whooped when I was growing up. I'm not gonna whoop my kids. That's a whole different story
All
there.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, that's not what I mean because it didn't kill us. It didn't. My mother was a very very strong and really dominant woman as far as a household was concerned, and she got me and my brother. We wasn't getting away. Uh, and there was many times we was like, man, I ain't never gonna do my kids like this. But you know what? When we
Right.
when we grow up, we still have those same things attached to us. Is it right, or do we need to do it that way? Maybe not. But then in some ways, maybe we do. But it's all again. You have to look back and be able to find a way to make all those things intertwine together. So you have that level of discipline, you have that level of trust, you have that level of them making sure that they respect you, and it's not about a parent being a kid's friend.
Mhm.
I've seen so many parents who are friends these days, and
Yeah.
they wonder why their kids do what they do and say that what they say and act the way that they act. and it's like you had a big hand in this,
Yeah,
and you
definitely.
chose to do something
So
else. So
that, I'm sorry.
we've got to continue to keep doing a better job of that.
Yeah, definitely. So that would like I would like to segue that comment and that answer to that question and the importance of installing moral and ethical values in
Hmm.
raising children. We
Yes.
also spoke about that.
Hmm.
Mhm,
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things again that when we look at it, we've got to be careful of when we say about installing the moral and ethical values and stuff. It's
mhm,
not about morally and ethically necessarily rewarding them
mhm,
for doing it. I mean, like these are some things that when you put in them, you should be. This is something that you should be as a young kid. I look at my parents and say, morally and ethically, they taught me some important lessons, and it wasn't like I was rewarded to listen to them. It wasn't like I sat down and hey, they, if I sit and listen to them, to their moral and ethical conversations, then I'm going to get new keys to a car
yeah,
or something. It has to be something to where they understand and willfully want to have compassion for what you're saying and compassion for what you believe, and therefore these things translate onto them. Everybody will have their own opinion about how to raise their kids and how to do this, and you'll hear 99 million mamas say out there, "Hey, I'm raising them. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear what you got to say. They my kids, all that." But they're not going to be your kids. When they locked up. They're not going to be your kids when they get in trouble. They're still your kids, but you're not. You want to come and defend them. And this is the area where it's like a bowl of chili, so to speak, hot chili. Because it's like, what do you do? What do I say? The mother says that she's doing all she can do. The fathers, say, that they can't control them or whatever and all that. I still feel that if they would start
mhm.
that day one, because guess what? A kid comes out of the womb, and what's the first thing he experiences? Anger,
Yes, sir.
because he gets slapped on the tail and he starts crying. So you got to train a kid to be kind. You got to train them sometimes to have compassion. You got to do all these different things as parents, as a kid is growing up, to make sure that when you see the signs and the signals of things that are to come, that you can jump right on it and do it in a way in which God's going to bless you in the way that your kids should go. Train a child up in the days of his youth. That's his word.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a verse in the Bible that says, pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, with the values and ethics that you instill in a child, once he goes out into the world, he will still carry on, hold on to those values and ethics.
Yep. 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 It's word. I mean, yeah, I know you're paraphrasing stuff too, but it's word, and we are supposed to be God-fearing Christian people.
Yes, sir.
We're
Right,
gonna
question.
we're gonna we're gonna respect His word.
Do you have
We're gonna.
anything else like to add on to that?
Yeah, no, I just think that it's all good stuff because I'm of that same school of thought. I tell my son, there's been times when I like with either one of my sons, it was like, they'll tell their mom, well, I'm mad at daddy, and my response to that is like, well, it's good. It's a good thing I'm not trying to be your friend
Yeah.
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 because and I tell him, listen, I'm your dad. I'm not your friend. I need you
First
to
and
understand there's
foremost.
a difference. And so,
First and
the thing
foremost.
is you hit it right on the knob. There are so many parents nowadays that want their kids to like them. They want their kids to be their friend. That they forget that you're rearing these kids.
Yeah.
And
I
Yeah.
mean, I can see an alternative to it also, depending on how they were raised and what they were missing. A lot of us also implement what we did not like or take away, what we did or didn't like the way that we were raised. So it's a figuring out process, especially
well,
as you're young.
yeah, I mean, and I tell people all the time, as a parent, your job as a parent is to screw your child up as little as possible and getting him to be a responsible adult.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think
Because the thing is you're gonna mess up as a parent, right? Every
Yeah. You're gonna
parent
mess up.
messes up at
Yeah.
some point.
You're going
That's
to.
just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But your goal is to try to do it as little to mess your child up as little as possible.
tweak.
I like that. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real. So, yeah. In addition, so you know, as I was coming up, I saw many parents, many young parents, that need to figure things out. And so I'm sure there's a lot of people that could benefit from this conversation that will be going through or are going through uh, that, being a parent young, and that's big information, man. I appreciate that a lot. All right.
Yes. I mean, it's always a somewhat of a wad cutter situation, but I tell you what, parents need to have it more.
Yes, sir.
We need to have it more as a people, because like I said, you look at what we're dealing with now. Our kids are ones who were once kids, who are now young teens, young adults. They're getting gunned down in the street,
Yes, sir.
and these are some things that we've got to teach them. Like I said again, the life is tough, and you got to have a certain degree of toughness based on what you were raised with. But then there's that sense of resiliency in the fact of what your parents are trying to help you to come through. We all want to come through these situations. We don't want to see another Black kid die.
That's
We
right.
don't want to see, in a neighborhood. I have to say, we talk about, Black Lives Matter and those things that are coming up, and we're so quick to jump on law enforcement and all that sort of stuff, when we have much more of a problem in our own communities with people killing Blacks. And we got to find a way to stop that. And that again comes from what we do with internally in our own communities, to find ways and programs to get these kids to stop wanting to just be, I don't know what you want to call it, be cool, be seen, be respected, all those things. And that is pretty much the parameters of what it takes for them to either go right or left and start a bunch of mess. And next thing you know, like I said, we have some more lives lost.
Yes, sir. Definitely. So moving on, I asked this question. I love asking this question to former ball players. The game of football, it really shows your values and your ethics. It puts us or put it on center stage. How much work you put in, you know, the dedication, communication, everything that it takes to be a successful football player.
Mm-hmm.
How did those ethics that you use to progress in football help you in life outside of football?
Oh man, I tell you what, it's kind of in a sense, it's a little different when you look at football as opposed to maybe some of the things that go on in society. I remember getting out of football, and I was always prompted with something, with someone telling me that, hey, you put that same kind of drive that you put in football in this job, then you're going to be just as successful and all that sort of stuff. But I had to always stop and tell myself, there ain't nowhere in the world that I got to block Lawrence Taylor, on a daily basis or on a weekend, or I got to, carry the ball 400 and some time, or, during the season, or even on a Sunday, 40 times or whatnot. So it wasn't quite translated in that sense, but you do have to look at it and say, when you do have passion and desire to make something happen and to go out and put yourself on the line like you did playing football, then yes, you possibly can, but it's not the same. And there are some guys who can make that transition on the field, off the field, depending on what they do. But some guys who had a great deal of success in the game or whatnot, when they're done with football, they don't go on to do much else. It's very difficult to do so, because it's not the same. It's still not the same. You don't have the same camaraderie in business. You don't have the same, connections with other guys in there, because mainly they who's going to, am I going to sit there with a guy who worked at Cheerios or something and tell me about football or whatnot? It's a different mindset, but you do try to invoke all the things that you have learned, the discipline, the training, the mental aspect, the coaching, trying to be coachable in the next profession. You try to use all those things to really move on and stuff. And a large amount of guys do, but a large amount of guys don't either. And I had my struggles with it, but I was able, by the grace of God, to find other things to do.
That's right.
There's one of the things that I really wanted to touch on. And I hear when I hear you talk about how you prepared for football and whatnot. At the beginning, when you were talking about how you got introduced to the game of football, we heard a lot about your attitude, right? And the fact that you got transferred to a school, you didn't get along with a coach, you were going to that school to raise hell anyways. And then but the thing is that at some point, and here's the part that really, this is the part I really want you to talk to, is not going in until after halftime. And here's the thing is that you can see that okay, this kid is special, right? This kid is special, but yet game after game after game, year after year after year, you keep getting held back. And see, there's a lot of kids that'll throw their career away because they feel like this person is holding back, so they just gonna give up. So talk about the mentality and the mindset that you have to have in order to be successful, even going through all of those obstacles.
Two of the things that come to mind when you, especially kids who know that they have the ability to do it and are very capable of going out and performing and doing things that are asked of them, is that are they coachable, and then B, are they resilient? Because you're going to need both of those things when you go out there. Because understand this: when you kids who are coming up now who aspire to be, let's just say, professional sports, okay? You want to be, on someone's basketball team, football team, baseball team, for the most part, those big three. And you got to be able to look at it and say, I'm trying to get to the highest level, but each level before then is the numbers are crazy, first of all, and they get more and more. They slim down even more and more before you get to the top, because in the NFL there's only 1,500 plus jobs, that you can get. In basketball, there's only so many. In baseball, there's only so many, and then you've got the minor leagues and all that sort of stuff before then. So, how resilient are you going to be when it comes to trying to make it? Because when I go out and I talk to kids, and I hope I get the opportunity to talk to them on a field, because I'll take a dime and I'll tell them, okay, this dime, you see it's all shiny and stuff, I put the sun on, you guys can see it in my hands or whatnot. And I say, but all you guys out here want to be this dime. So guess what? In this chosen profession that you want to be in, I'm going to throw this dime up in the air. And just think about all these blades of grass out here. Now you're in that kind of a bowl. Okay. And what are you going to do to make yourself look special? How are you going to do something to make all the coaches from Power 5 conferences, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, whatever you want to call it, there's so many of them out there. What are you going to do to make yourself look special so you can play at that elite brand of ball or whatever it is that you aspire to play? So look at the numbers, the blades of grass out there. How many kids are out there right now trying to do the same thing that you're doing? That's and right. as you try to make a ladder up to the next level, it gets cut more and more. It's less and less. So therefore, when it comes down to it, just like when I was in the draft, there was only so many guys who were going to be drafted, but I was fortunate enough to be drafted number 9. And I did something special, apparently, to make myself look that when nobody ever even saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. I didn't know that I would be.
You have a Division I scholarship, only playing a half of football.
Yeah,
that's saying something.
The other part of that, I didn't get a chance to go into it, but it only happened for like the first 3 games of the year. That coach that I was playing for had an issue with the athletic director, got fired, and I was able to start the rest of the season. But those first 3 games, I didn't know I was going to make it. Didn't realize I was going to make it at all. But anyway, this is what kids have to understand about trying to get to the next level. And that's not only just in sports, that's in business and everything else. You got to continue to make yourself special to have people recognize your talents, because unless you inherit a business all of a sudden and somebody's giving you $50 million billion or whatever, you got to work your way up a ladder. You're going to have to work your way up, and you're going to have to make yourself special at every level to attain the success that you want to attain. being coachable, being resilient, being, a person that can be, a character person that people want to be around and want to have as a teammate. It goes a long way. It goes an awfully long way. You can have all the attitude you want to in the world, but you better check it at the door, baby.
Right. Absolutely. I appreciate that because that's what our audience needed to hear
Yes, definitely, man. They dropping nuggets the entire show. Right?
that.
So this question I ask, uh, it's the French Powder Alliance has been very active in equality in the NFL. So I would like to ask you, what do you think of the minority hiring process or lack thereof, not just in the NFL but in professional sports, period?
Yeah, it's I can say they've done better. I think that they've made some strides with putting some guys in position. Could they still do better? Absolutely. I think they still make, for the most part, the African American coaches have to jump through certain hoops
Mhm.
in order to get these jobs. Whereas still, I know and I've seen and witnessed personally, some of these other guys just kind of stand in the background, just don't say anything, just wait. We'll give you a job here, whether it's a little bit of nepotism or something, but it's happened, and it still consistently happens. So I think that they still can do a better job of it. They've made some strides, but as you can see, I think it's almost like they get to a certain point and they're satisfied with it, and it's not going to get any better than that. But yeah, they have to say they've made some strides. Yes, I can't say that they have done that. Do they need to do better? Still, yes.
So and I wholeheartedly agree with you, because I mean you see it there. There's definitely more that can be done. Now, what do you feel that younger athletes of today, right? Because of course I know growing up, Coach Penn, you're probably the same way. Here's what you thought about. You thought about being like Mr. Riggs and scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. You know, you thought about doing things as a player, but none of us really sit there and talk about being an executive. None of us talk about owning a team. So, what do you think we can do today with our youth to help them to aspire for those types of positions or prepare themselves for positions like that?
Well, I think it would be great to see some type of starter programs that way, to where when kids are going to school and they give them a certain direction to go, curriculum, or whatever you want to call it. It's just like, hey, and there's some who get into what they call sports management, but it's sports management with kind of with a caveat that hey, if you want to go try to be an NFL owner, you, you're only going to go so far. But who knows? I mean, like you get some of these guys who may be business minded with entertainers or other other athletes as a whole, get a group together or something, to pull their monies together to maybe one day be a some type of an ownership. But it's something that I think that we have to put it in front of their faces early. And that may be that kid who's you might consider a numbers kid who likes the aspect of management and all that. Um, Put him on that path to doing so. It's just still unfortunate that that again, when you look at the NFL as the owners, um, it's like a well guarded fort most of the time, and they're doing a better job. Mark Mayhew, he was the GM at Detroit for a little bit. Very very smart brother. He's now at Washington. He's the general manager there now. There could be more. There are more of him out there.
Yeah.
He was a guy who played defensive back, and this was a kid who I can't call him a kid. He was a young man who he knew what he was capable of, and they could not stop him from doing it. Now, ownership is a little different story because it takes a heck of a lot of bucks now. They have that pretty much wrapped up as far as who they're going to let in and why they're going to let them in. So unless you got, a ton of money, if you guys got some or whatever, I'd be glad to be a GM. But, but it still is a very tough egg to crack as far as professional teams and ownership. Guys have to come up with a great business plan, and of course the financial aspect of it is it's phenomenal in terms of what you have to have. With some of these teams, when you see a team like Dallas being worth $1 billion, and there's other teams, worth $600 or $700 million. You gotta be someone who's got all your ducks lined up, and we as a whole don't. And I'm kind of still surprised that they have not. They've let some of our entertainers, for instance, be involved with some of the teams. Serena, a couple other, who else?
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, yeah, him and a couple other guys. They've involved with Magic. As a matter of fact, and being a part at one time on a part owner of the Lakers and stuff. It's like there's always, like I said, a little bit of wiggle room to have them involved, but we still have anybody at the top of the heap, and that comes down to the financial aspect of it, the business aspect of it, to find someone who has put together, had a business plan, has a company or whatever it is that they run, to make it to where when they see all the income that you generate or business that you put together, that they know that, hey, this is a good thing. This is a good marriage here. And it's going to take a while still to have that happen, because I don't think they necessarily want, an entertainer to be an owner in the NFL. They may have something to give them a little snippet of something, but it's the same thing in all other sports. So you gotta come with something.
We would have to. They would want us to carry ourselves, like Obama, like. If we got into that position, we couldn't do anything like a Jim Irsay, could get away with. That person would have to be perfect in order to open the door for others. Yeah. So
yeah. I like what LeBron James is doing, where he's a basketball player, but the thing is, he brings in a type of money where he owns a stake in the Boston Red Sox. I think that our athletes, they're getting the kind of contracts where they can pull their money together and get a major stake in a sport that they actually don't compete in. And I think that there has to be a paradigm shift, right? Where we look past being the player to owning the team. And I think that's one thing that we really have to push. And then also, just like you were talking about, like having that program where you train people up, because I know I was blessed with the opportunity to have a conversation with Frank Robinson, the late great Frank Robinson, and Hank Aaron, same time. And I know that one of the things that Hank Aaron always wanted is he wanted to see a Black commissioner. And so the thing is that, how many of us are we talking to our athlete children about being a commissioner one day? Are we talking to them about being a GM or an owner one day? And so, like I said, there has to be a paradigm shift somewhere in there so that we can really start to make some moves in this area. Because if we continue to just want to be the players and just strive to be the players, that's all we're going to be, is the players.
That's right. And I totally agree with that.
Well, Mr. Riggs, I know you have to get out of here, sir. I just want to thank you again for taking the time to spend with us today. And, I'm sure your experience and your wisdom will be passed on. And like I say, man, I just want to thank you, man. I'm just so grateful.
Absolutely.
Well, again, both you guys, I really appreciate your time. It's always great to have young brothers reach out and to get a few nuggets from us old guys. There's some things that we can pass on. Some people may say, what, they've been hitting the head a few times too many. I don't think you need to listen to everything they say, but some of us still got a little bit of sense, and I'm one of those who I've been blessed to be able to, still be able to conversate with young men and talk about some of these different things that are going on nowadays. We are still, even as older guys, we still love to be able to see our communities come together, to see young men reach out and make a change for some of these other guys coming up underneath you. You know, it's kind of like saying, you know, well, hey, I was your father's player. You guys have different players now, and the children that's coming underneath you are going to have different players. So you guys continue to keep passing that mantle along. You're doing what you guys do. I appreciate it. I commend you guys, and I just wish you more and more blessings ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, boy.
We'll do it again another time. All right.
Oh yeah. Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Maybe we get some football season going or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. There we go. Yeah. All right, sir.
You guys have a good evening.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. Like I say, someone who I can remember vividly, you know, running to glory, you know, you know, all over my Lions, you know. I'm so blessed and thankful that he was able to come on and help us out, man. And, you know, the importance of foster care, you know, and the importance of parenting strategically, you know, in order to get to maximize your child's potential. That's something that people really don't talk about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you know, when he was talking about, you know, the mindset that you have, and he really talked about resilience. You know, that's another word that comes up all the time with our guests, right? They talk about resilience, the ability to bounce back.
That's right.
Right? Like, you know, yeah, you get knocked down, but how do you bounce back? Can you bounce back harder?
That's
you
right.
know, you know, and here's just a little bit of physics. You know, when you push up against the wall, until you push that wall with more force that it's pushing up against you, you'll never go through it.
Yeah. Sure.
So that's what you have, and you're able to do that through resiliency. So man, that you know, Mr. Riggs was a bad man. Like I said, I'm still
bad. That's a bad man, boy.
Bad man, but like
he scared me like Aaron Rodgers.
As drafted number 9 overall as a fullback.
Man, goodness. Hey, his boys were something special too. When I was watching the Tennessee game, when I see the Riggs on the jersey, I'm like, draft that kid. Before I even see him run, draft that kid.
Draft it, yeah. Him right there.
Yeah. Riggs. Yeah. But hey, brother, thank you again, man. Another great show. We'll be doing it again next week.
As always, it's a pleasure. You know, you call me the best co-host in the business, but man, it's a pleasure being beside you.
My brother. All right, till next week. Signing off.